and I'm gonna probably go to the other VC and just like exist, and then probably go to sleep. I need to get doing so many things. All right, see you, mate.
No, well, Nicole will be able to speak through my mic if needed. Well, honestly, if we were to really think about it, the monarch position is kind of already set in stone. Not much can be changed about that. Same thing with the prime minister, except for the description and what the overall not the qualities, but overall what the prime minister does has been expanded upon. It now acts as a third vote and also as a de facto moderator if need be. Yeah, that okay. Yeah. But I mean, there was a time long ago where it was a thing that is needed, but since technically speaking, the guards themselves won't be making votes or vetoing votes or anything of that nature, I feel like it'll just basically come down to whether, I mean, if we're really to talk about it, if it's truly going to be a power struggle between a faction or another faction, then it really just comes down to what side the prime minister would be on, or what side the newly made overseers would be on. But all in general, for the most part, as long as we have the right people in the right positions, then that shouldn't be an issue at all, really. Right. Okay. Having a strike system for the guards is good, and then also, I mean, I guess. Nah, go ahead. We'll talk about guards when it's guards' turns. Right. Let's see. Um, Honestly, there's not too much to actually change with the Monarch, except for I guess if you want to have the EVOC or executive vote of confidence removed, then that could be something that could be done. Yeah. I mean, it depends on. See, look, it really just does depend on who is the monarch because having a total control scenario should only be something that has to be done if, let's say, for instance, there are no more staff, like in general, then a total control scenario would make sense. But to say the way it was recently used, I don't know if that's the way it should be used, or if we should have it be something else in general. Because I mean, losing all not all of them, but three out of the four guards, I don't know if that would constitute as a situation where you would need a total control scenario. But then on that same side of the coin, it's not like the monarch wouldn't have total control in the first place, even with guards being active. It just really depends on the scenario, really. Right. Right. Well, I mean, think about it like this. If all the guards leave, you can just appoint new guards. If the prime minister and or the counselors leave, you can just hold an election because I mean, technically speaking, they're not moderators, so there'd be no reason to not just immediately hold another election. Yeah, I would say there should still be a training form for the counselors, though. I don't see them going willy nilly all the time. So yeah, there's that. Right. Which which I mean that would technically be classified as the executive vote of confidence. It's just that it wouldn't be directed towards the guards anymore. It would be directed towards all staff. But then that's kind of a all right. Well, I'd say let's go over what we have in the current ROTC and see if anything from that needs to be removed. Yeah. So obviously, I feel like all right. Okay. So the term limit would be until resignation, which I don't know. I mean, there's two sides of the coin of have an elected monarch every so often, but then the other side of that coin is what would be the point since the owner of the server would still have total control anyways. So I mean, having the monarch be until resignations kind of you can't budge on that because there's no point in having it be a different monarch. The election selected by previous monarch recommended. That's the same thing. There would be no point in changing any of that. Size one, obvious. There can only be one. Requirements being not have any position of power in another community. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that needs to be changed. Um, have been a member for 1 year or more. Same thing. I think that's good. Not have been banned in the past 6 months. Sounds no other position of power in another community or server. Okay, not have been banned in the past 6 months. Sounds good to me. Not have been accused of social erosion in the past 6 months. Also sounds good. And then be at least 16. I feel like that could have potential to be changed. I don't know if we want a child as the monarch if Fraught were to ever step down officially and there would be the new selected person. But at the same time, totaled, I don't believe. How old are you, to be exact? 17. Yeah, see, I don't know because 17 or older, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I remember being a kid and I was a fucking shit ass. So like, oh, not be banned for 6 months and not be accused of social erosion in the past 6 months. Which, I mean, that one's interesting because not having been accused, does that mean anybody can go around accusing you of social erosion and then bam, you can't be monarch? There we go, that works. Yeah, that would be a better term. Because I can go around and accuse everybody of social erosion and then bam, they can't be monarch. Not that hard. Um, yeah, I think we'll just keep it like that, to be honest. I don't see any reason to remove it. And then that would be all of the requirements for a monarch. Now we're getting into the powers of the monarch. Now, in Discord, it states that the monarch can create and remove non ROTC roles, which, I mean, yeah, sounds fine to me. Right. Well, it wouldn't be so. Well, it's saying create and remove roles, not rules. ROLES, not rules. Yeah. So that'd just be like having a custom role or giving roles out for any miscellaneous reason, which I don't see a problem with personally. And then give and take away ROTC roles to members following the processes established here. So that basically, in a basic sense, means that they can give and take away ROTC positions as long as the process of doing so is followed, which I don't see a problem with. as long as the process is followed. So we got to make sure we have that note or that comma there for that. Next would be the create channels and remove channels, which I don't personally have a problem with, but I mean maybe with I would say with community approval, but then at the same time there's I don't know. I say I don't have a problem with the creation and removal of channels. I just would say as long as it's not like willy nilly every 2 minutes you're fucking going around changing shit. Right. Okay, there we go. Make normal announcements by pinging notification or relevant roles. Sounds fine to me. I'm not too sure why that's a listed power, but I mean, I guess make sure we cover all the bases. Make emergency announcements by pinging at everyone. Don't see an issue with that. And then creating and closing events. Also don't have an issue with that. And then, so in the ROTC 3, it has in red a subcategory of in other properties have full control over all aspects, which I'm guessing that's meaning to say in all servers besides Caveton that we have under the belt, the Monarch has full control over everything in that server. Right. I'm trying to think. Because, like, in a simple sense, the monarch having full control over all aspects would just undermine the reason of having a manager in the first place. But at the same time, if the monarch is the person that created the subordinate server, then there would be no way for anyone to say otherwise, that they shouldn't have control over that aspect. So, I mean, it all comes down to whether or not I would say they have limited control over that server if a manager is currently active in said server. They can't just willy nilly do what they want if they have a manager active in said server. Did you get that written down total? Right. Right. Okay. Sounds good to me. Now we're gonna get into the big long list of stuff. So, in staff, it says that it has power to make a proposal to the guardianship, which we would be changing that to they can make a proposal to the counselors. That'd be the new meaning. Now, the second line would be veto past proposals by the guardianship. Now, do we want to have the monarch be allowed a total veto? If we do allow the monarch to have a total veto, is that an unlimited veto then? At that point, they can just veto anything they want? Or do we have a limited veto amount for the monarch? Right. Mm. No, that's what Total is saying. Is basically if Monarch were to veto something, so okay. So how about this then? So if the counselors propose something and it's passed along those counselors' proposals, or not even that, because technically anybody. No, suggestion box would be a thing. It wouldn't just be the counselors proposing stuff. It would be everybody is allowed to propose something. It's the counselors that have to vote on such thing. And then once that's voted upon, then Monarch would either veto it or allow it. And then if it is vetoed, and the counselors really want it to pass, then I would say it goes to judges. But if it's vetoed and the counselors don't particularly care that it's vetoed, then I guess the veto can just go through without any judge involvement. How does that sound? Okay. On that specific one, I don't think so. Now we want to make sure that we don't give the judges too much power and too much sway over everything. So we just want to make we just keep our eyes open for that. Because I'd like to have it how we had it the old way, where each position it's kind of like a rock paper scissors situation where the monarch resides over the counselors, but then the counselors reside over judges and the judges resides over the monarch, and that way it's, an equilibrium of power between the three main positions of power in the community. But I don't know how well that worked out. I thought that was still a thing, but according to fraud it's not. So anyways, the next line, which would be the call for the executive vote of confidence to the guardianship. Now, you said yourself you wanted to remove the executive vote of confidence altogether. I say we redefine what the executive vote of confidence is, because in the ROTC, let me see if it's still defined. I don't remember exactly the way Fraught used to put it, but as far as I thought how it worked was that I thought that the executive vote of confidence was, hey, I, the monarch, don't believe the guardship is doing well, so I'm going to ask the community if the guardship is doing well. I didn't think it was, oh, well, the guardship has blocked me from doing stuff twice now. I can remove the guardship altogether. I don't know what, I don't know what 2.0 had that definition. Yeah, okay. Well, all right. Well, let's just redefine what the executive vote of confidence is. In simple terms, if the monarch feels that the counselors, or even I would say if the monarch feels the counselors or the judges are not up to standards of their positions, then a vote can be given out to the community, and where the community can vote whether or not they are indeed holding up their, positions properly. And it can get as specific as the entire judgeship or entire counselor, or a specific judge or specific counselor. It doesn't have to be all of them. It can be a singular person. Okay, I see where you're coming from. Yeah. Okay. Yes, yes. Okay. Right. Okay, I see where you're coming from with that. Right. So it'd have to be a unanimous vote of the both council members. Right. Mm, right. I would say Prime Minister would become monarch temporal until I don't know if we should give it all to the council though. Then it would be a definite power shift if the council can just add or remove the monarch willy nilly. I would say, yeah. I know what you're meaning. I would say, okay, I would say probably a community vote would be the best way to do it then. So prime minister would become monarch templar, and then a community vote would be held for the next monarch. But then, yeah, okay, that falls in line with what we have already written down. All right, the next thing. What's up? All right, you're good. Oh well, we still have a lot more to go on the monarch because dude, yeah, no, there's a bunch of shit. So they can change the hours of responsibility of a guard, elite guard, or proxy guard, which sounds fine to me. The hours of responsibility for the guards can be handled by the monarch just fine, I believe. Now, this is where stuff's going to get a little difficult because after the hours of responsibility, it states that the monarch can appoint or remove members of the judgeship so long as there is one person left in the judgeship. Now, do we want the monarch to be able to remove judges willy-nilly, or do they have to go through that vote of no confidence to remove a judge? Because technically speaking, judges are not elected, they are appointed, and the judges that we all have now were appointed by the monarch. So, do we want to change that dynamic, or how does that gonna work? Okay, that sounds fine to me, I guess. Right. 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 We'll make sure we have that in the definitions then. We want to make sure that these are defined in that way. Okay. Appoint or what's up? Alright. Oh, it's already almost 7 o'clock for me. So totaled here in probably the next 15, or I would say in 20. In the next 20 minutes here, I'm probably gonna have to go. No, that's yeah. I'd say let's go ahead and try speedrunning the rest of the Monarch stuff then. So let's see. The next thing would be appoint or remove a prime minister recommended to be elected in public elections. So do we just want to have it be at a, so we just want to straight up have it elected? So how does one remove the prime minister then? Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Sounds good to me. Next would be activate or deactivate the prime minister, which would be basically what you are currently, activated prime minister, in the sense of you've taken over the position of a monarch temporarily. So I say that's fine. Temporarily. There you go. Perfect. Now then, the next 2 points, I think we should just probably group them together, but it's appoint or remove ministers and appoint or remove clerks. Do we want, so the ministers I feel like are fine. You know, they can appoint or remove a minister willy-nilly. But as for the clerks, should we have the monarch just be able to appoint any clerk to any minister? All right. So ministers have the authority to appoint a clerk or remove their clerks, but the monarch has the authority to remove a clerk if needed, you know, just because like I feel like that'd have to be a no-brainer. So you can't so the monarch can't force a clerk to be underling to a minister, but they can forcefully remove a clerk from the underling of a minister. Yes, or a manager, that works. And then I'd say right under that, uh yeah, that fine. And then with that, they can just remove any clerk needed. Perfect. And then let's see, next would be make referendums. If a referendum is approved, it needs half of the required votes with the guards. Now, referendums are changes to the ROTC. So I would say they can propose referendums, and then it would need a 2 out of 3 vote from the council slash prime minister to pass. Okay. Maybe in the UK it's spelled with a U. Not over here, it's not. Yeah. I have no right to speak on spelling. I'm like the worst speller in this entire community. All right. Next would be to hold elections following due process. Or I guess in the actual words it says hold elections following the process established here. I guess we could say just hold elections following due process. Or if you want to make it the long worded form, you can. In the ROTC, I guess if you wanted to put it like that. Yeah. Declare a state of emergency. So, by definition, let's go find those. State of emergency, not defined anywhere, it looks like. So, now do we want to have the monarch call for state of emergency? And if so, what is the definition of the state of emergency? It does make sense. It's just, I'm trying to think here because when it comes to, because right below state of emergency is the total control clause, and to be honest, if we were to have the monarch have something like a state of emergency or a total control, it should be under the same pretext. So I would say the monarch has the right to call for a state of emergency. That state of emergency, I guess what would be the definition? So the definition of a state of emergency is that if the community is, see, I don't understand because back in the day, state of emergencies were declared when we were at war and there was like actual hackers trying to take us down, or if there was like a raid from a different community happening on one of our servers or maps and stuff like that. Yeah, he also uses it when Peru's like about to fucking go into another civil war, but I mean, I don't. That's besides the point. So I would say the monarch has the power to call for a lockdown. I want to call it a lockdown scenario per se. So they have a 24-hour lockdown scenario clause where the only powers that would be active in that scenario would be the guards as moderators, and let's see, it would only last for 24 hours. The suppressed rules would be something akin to the prime minister would be suppressed, the council would be suppressed, and the judges would be suppressed, I guess you would say. And it would just be a lockdown of the community to where there's no voting, there's no actual political stuff going on. It's just the community being on lockdown for a period of time until either a vote of confidence or a vote of no confidence or the executive vote of no confidence is called, per se. That wouldn't make sense. That would conflict because then, okay. I would say the lockdown would then be defined by there is no the roles themselves aren't suppressed. It's just what the roles are doing are suppressed, I guess. Because they can still call for votes of confidence in a lockdown scenario if needed. Well, I don't I mean that kind of conflicts like on all sides at that rate. So what would okay, totaled. What do you think? I don't know. It kind of conflicts. Right. Okay. Right. So it would be a like pseudo suppression then. Okay. Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah. I'm not. Eh. See, like, because when we get down to the nitty gritty of it, total, there's not much you can actually do to stop the monarch from doing shit. Because all you can do is suppress him, yeah. But then after he's suppressed, or after they're suppressed, then I mean, what's gonna change really? So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I would say they can call for a suppression of the monarch, and then it's up to the judge's discretion, how long. But I would say no more than a week. I mean, nowadays, like, there's not really much of a reason to have lockdowns. It's not like it's not like it's an American school or anything. But I mean, it's not like we have Minecraft maps that are open and hosted on, and that's what we, live off of. I mean, even if a Discord raid were to happen, we have an anti-raid bot like present, so it's not like they can get very far with said raid. So there's not many scenarios in which a lockdown would need to be called. Right. Right. Okay. That all looks good. So next would be to give conditional status to non-staff members, which I mean sounds good to me. Modify and manage staff pay sounds good to me. Run a census sounds good to me. Run activity purges it sounds good to me. And then end a suggestion if it's clearly a joke or not serious also sounds good to me. No, you're good. Give conditional status to non-staff members. The conditional status is basically like a probation almost, and usually the judges would give it out to members who are repeated offenders of rule breaking, and if they break the rule one more time, it's a result in a ban usually. So that's a conditional status. A member that is not of staff. Next would be the modify and manage staff pay. Next would be run a census. Run activity purges. And then end a suggestion if it's clearly a joke or not serious. And then the last little bit there is in staff when prime minister is activated, which means that if the monarch is not active and this prime minister is, which is the current situation, the two clauses that the monarch has in that situation would be to approve or reject total control requests from the prime minister, which if we don't have total control involved, that would be changed to lockdown requests, I'm guessing. So approve or reject lockdown requests from the prime minister, and then to remove slash deactivate the prime minister, or I guess it would be remove or deactivate the prime minister. The other one is to remove or deactivate the prime minister. But I feel like that's a separate bulletin. All right, and that is basically the entirety of the monarch role. Yeah. Wow, all that for one role. Sheesh. Like on Google Doc or in Discord. I don't know, to be honest. How do you underline stuff on Discord? You figured it out. Who'd have thought? What? Maybe. I know. Yeah, I know. No, not right now. Girl, a bit busy. Yeah, agreed. No, you're good. Well, everybody, thank you for watching this rewrite of the staff positions. We hope to see you next time on this live recording. This is your boy NWO Ichigo here, signing off.